Welcome back. You're watching Uongozi Today, and I'm holding court with Justice Nyang'aya, who is a commissioner with the IEBC. Also, we have with us Professor Yusuf Elmi, who is a policy and governance expert, also the former chancellor of Rongo University. Also, we have with us Vincent Kimosop, who is lead consultant with Sovereign Insight. I just got a text from Samu Hochi. Couldn't make it this morning. He actually sent it at 6 o'clock in the morning here. He has an indisposed kid, so he has to take care of the kid this morning, family first. And that's why I cannot be able to attend the program this morning. But nonetheless, we continue the conversation apace, and we are looking at the election preparedness of IEBC. And before we took a short break, I was just asking Commissioner Justice Nyang'aya to tell us about the 2017 irregular payment to IDEMIA. The public do not know about these irregular payments, and they had to be an intervention from the legislators to stop IDEMIA being contracted by IEBC for almost 10 good years because of violation of Company Acts and also the irregular payments that we are really talking about here. And it's been questionable with IDEMIA because we were wondering why the morphing of names. There had been questions before about Saffron or OT Morpho, which morphed to IDEMIA.
OT Morpho was contracted to provide election infrastructure, not by IEBC.
Not by IEBC?
It was done what is called government to government contract. And IEBC at that time almost did not have the wherewithal or the capacity and the time to contract as the law required a firm that will provide technology for the election.
You did not have the time?
No. In fact, the team of IEBC commissioners came in 6 months before the elections. And so government had to agree with another government to provide a firm to provide elections in 2013. Then IEBC worked with these people because their contract was still on up to 2017. It was a very difficult relationship because there was a keyword for IEBC, and IEBC that needed to take charge and control had not signed a contract with them. So they, in fact, ran a roughshod on IEBC throughout that time. And I will tell you that some of the monies that OT Morpho was demanding from IEBC, even now, were some of the monies that were around taxation. It is required that when you have a foreign vendor, there's a certain amount, a percentage, that you need to take and give to KRA. And I can let you know that that was almost about $215,716 that was paid to KRA. But OT Morpho was demanding that money from IEBC because they said that they had the waiver. And IEBC said, if you have the waiver, go to KRA and get the money. We have paid that, and it is completely indicated that it is paid on your behalf, as required by law by Kenya and KRA, which we did. So they are still demanding that money from us, and we say no, they shouldn't do that. Second thing is it was an irregular for OT Morpho to enter into a contract with a third party to provide services called cloud hosting And they were charging us 1.6 million US dollars. And we said, what is cloud hosting? We don't know about it. We didn't even use it in 2017. You did not even enter into a contract with the commission. You enter into a contract with somebody else. We cannot pay. Because if we pay, the Justice and Legal Committee in Parliament is going to ask, PAC is going to ask, that is illegal. We cannot pay that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make me understand, because I think this sounds very convoluted for me.
Yeah, it is.
You are an independent commission. Then you are caught up in a time warp where you're really pinched for time, that you don't have sufficient time to do a credible procurement process of the services and equipment at the end of the day. Where is the government to government coming in, and who is usurping, your powers as a commission to enter to a government to government procurement?
You know that
because you are independent, and you've said that, we were strapped for time. We didn't have commissioners, were installed way too late into the time. But where is the difference between the secretariat and the commission? Because that is not solely your job as commissioners to do the procurement. That's why we have the CEO, we have the secretariat who will carry out the procurement process itself. So the idea of the commissioners being sworn in late does not really hold water here at the end of the day.
It does.
How?
Because the commission, everything is done with the express approval of the commissioners.
Even
and so in 2017, they came, I think, in February. And it happens, Dibal, that is allowed, that government to government can actually take place.
But that
right
is,
now,
I know that is that is the last resort.
Yeah,
Justice. That is the last resort.
And that was the last resort.
It is the last resort. But why do we go for the last resort?
Yeah,
because it seems to me that this government to government procurement was deliberately entered because people were biding their time to create a crisis so that we may enter into a government to government procurement.
Absolutely.
And therein is where now we have a spawning ground for corruption.
Absolutely.
So this was deliberate.
And
can we agree on that particular point? Yes, we agree government to government you can enter, but it is the last resort when there is a crisis.
Absolutely.
Why do we have a crisis when we have commissioners who are in office being pegged by the exchequer?
There were no commissioners.
No, but there is a IEBC itself, even if there were no commissioners at the end of the day.
And Dibal, what happens is this. Commissioners really do not appoint themselves. This particular responsibility is carried out by somebody else. And they came late, not because they wanted to come late, but they came late because they were appointed into office that late. You remember the Isaac Hassan team were asked to leave. Yes. And that throws spanner into the works. And then the new commissioners were delayed in coming. They only came 6 months into 2017 election. And they had to really burn the midnight candle to make sure that 2017 election takes place. Give it to them. They did that. And I think for me that's really wonderful. It's commendable. But some of these are so structural that you don't have the responsibility and the wherewithal to carry out some of these things. You cannot appoint yourself to office. You have come late.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Let's say from Elmi as well, hearing what Justice is telling us and the current state of play right now, are we all the wiser? Are we learning anything?
Dima, with all due respect to the commissioner and the IEBC, my understanding is that IEBC is an institution, and the commissioners are the political component of this institution. So it's like KTN. KTN is run by professional people, but they are directors. So the absence of the directors will not make KTN not work. It's just an excuse. What is it that the commissioners cannot, why did this thing go slow? You see, the election has 3 or 4 processes. One is the preparation.
Yes.
Number 2 is the actual registration of voters. Number 3 is the actual election processes. And then the third or the fourth one is the declaration of the winners and the losers. So all these stages are actually interconnected. For this election to be accurate, to be free and fairable, this process must start in the right time. Now, election, the bar is not a cheap process. The taxpayer has paid immense amount of money to IEBC to ensure that this process ends as required by law. So, this concept of hurrying things, as you correctly say, could be an opening, an avenue for corruption. And one thing we know in this country is that IEBC has had challenges as far as corruption is concerned. Now, the commission is saying today that the Otimo company has been removed and taken over by another company. So you see, the IEBC has invested immense resources in the infrastructure brought about by Otimo. Is this company, can it have that capacity to maintain those equipments? Does it have the capacity to ensure that there is continuity? Now, IEBC, as I said at the beginning, is a very crucial institution because election here is not an ordinary occurrence. It is tied to selecting the right leadership, our leaders. So there must be the right preparation. The bar, some of the workers in of the commission have been accused of corruption and they have been taken to court. You also remember, if you don't look at history and sort it out, then you will always repeat the same mistake. The previous commissioners of ISAC were actually bundled out of office. Why? Because they were aligned to the politics of the day. IEBC is supposed to be apolitical. They are supposed to be free from the politics. Their job is to ensure that they do free and fair election. They have been given sufficient amount of money by the exchequer. Now the challenge has been, why is it that IEBC cannot do their job at the right time? Either they in the presence or absence of the commission. Commissioners are just political people who are appointed by the president and they are supposed to be interviewed. It takes a bit of time. But you see, they have conducted an election with only three commissioners. So that tells you the absence of the commissioners is not really crucial to the actual processes. So why is it that our elections, our worry here is we don't want a repeat of what happened in 2017. This time, 2022, the election processes must be fair and free. It must be accountable. So how can this be done? This can only be done if the preparation has started early enough, as stipulated by law. They are sticking to the May. You may. But May is giving you an opportunity to start the right time. So what I see is that in the last general election, 2017, IEBC had the highest number of petitions, elections that were disputed, elections that, the courts were feeling like this. Why? Because people were not satisfied with the process. How can we ensure that process is not repeated again? It can only be ensured if we start our processes well, if we contract the right company to do the right job for transparency and accountability. Now, I think I don't know whether I can say we have new commissioners. We have a new CEO. So Kenyans today are looking at IEBC with new expectation that things will be different from the way they were in the 2017 and its previous time. And 2017 and even backward. They have not done their job very well. So what is it that we can do? We as the Kenyan people can only give them sufficient resources. And I think that is what has happened. Now the challenges here are corruption during preparation, inefficiency during dispensation of the electoral processes, and then corruption and other problems during the declaration of winners. You see, how can we stop all that? It can only stop if we remove impunity from electoral processes. If you blunder an electoral process in 2017, why should you be in office in 2022? If the audit report says that there was massive misuse of resources, so why should we trust the same people with the same amount of money? So here there are real issues that we need to deal with the bar as a country, and the trust we have given to IEBC, they must reciprocate by doing their job well. I'm not putting aspersion on the new commissioners. I have immense respect for them, but this trust they must earn. They must earn from who? From the people of this country.
Right.
Yes.
When we talk about,
can I correct something?
Could we just briefly a one-liner, because I want to give Vincent also Kibicho to weigh in.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to correct?
Yes. Professor has said something to the effect that the number of petitions that were filed in court indicated that IEBC did a bad job, and I want to say no. No, let me just go on. There were 317 petitions. You are right. That's a very high number. But only 11 were successful. In other words, 306, the courts ruled that IEBC was right in all those. The decisions that they made was right. And that is actually 96% to IEBC. So you cannot say, you cannot judge IEBC by the number of petitions in court, but judge them by the number of petitions that IEBC won. And the court declared that IEBC had done the correct thing. 96% right. And as a professor, now if you give a student 96%, that is a star, Professor.
Commissioner, the point I'm trying to argue here is not a judicial process. The law has several, they say the law is an ass. I'm not trying to dispute that what these fellows have done is right. What I'm trying to say is that there was a dissatisfaction. Why will 300, is it
317?
Yeah, why will there be 317 people who are dissatisfied if the process was right? They should not have gone to court. You can imagine the amount of money that was used by the fellow who went to court. You look at the process that the IEBC, the amount of money they have used for legal processes. Look at the time that was spent by the judiciary. So all of that,
but you cannot
Kenya
stop
is losing.
Anybody going to court.
Kenya is losing.
All right, thank you. Let me rope in Vincent Kibicho. Just listening to, of course, the argument from Justice Nyang'aya here, and the question of the independence of IEBC, that we have, as you say, somebody usurping the independence of IEBC when it comes to procurement. The details there, we know the procurement processes within IEBC is questionable. It's not even the first time that we know about Otimofo. We have also known of Inform Lycos as well from Greek, where we had people petitioning the court as well because of how that tender was awarded to Lycos as well, 10 firms. So it seems there is a problem within the procurement process of IEBC, that all the time when they're talking about they don't have time, it is because of their own doing, when we have all these petitions at the end of the day. What are you making out of this?
Well, I think I was about to say, Dibal, remember I'm also here. So one of the things that I'm happy at least you've gotten back. I think we are giving information without context, Dibal, and that is being unfair to the IEBC. I'm not an election I don't speak for the IEBC, but as a governance observer, we should give information with context. I like, for example, what the commissioner said, that the IEBC cannot stop Kenyans from seeking redress in the judicial process. What we should judge the IEBC is not the number of court petitions, but the number of how many were successful. 96% tells you very clearly that the court stood with it. The other thing I also think we need to appreciate is that, well, let's give information, but also talk about when it happened. What happened in 2017, we cannot sweep, we cannot attribute that to the current commissioners in office, because they were not there. That was a responsibility for those who were there at that time, and if accountability is to be given, let them be given based on those who are in office. So I really would appeal the ball that as we give this information, we give them with context. Around the issue of procurement and the interest, you know very well, when it comes to election, because of our mistrust for one another, therefore elections becomes very expensive. There is a lot of interest when tenders are given. Some of those people who are not satisfied go to court, which is provided by the law, by the Public Procurement Act, and you can go all the way to the Public Procurement Tribunal. If you're not happy, you can go all the way to the court. So, Debal, I think one of the things I would want to say is that whereas people have the freedom to go and seek redress in court, I think we should not. Let's hold account IEBC for what they're accountable for. When they issue a tender and people dispute it, it's not IEBC's responsibility. It is those who are interested in getting those deals or those tenders who have gone to court. So I'm not exonerating them, but I also challenge Justice and team that you have a communication problem. You really need to up your game as far as this is concerned. But also remember that you are held at a higher pedestal. Kenyans expect a lot from the electoral body. You have to match up to this because of also the sensitivity of an election. Finally, I would also want to say that an election is not a deliverable of the IEBC alone. You require other state actors, the security agencies. You require the judiciary. You require the media. You require Kenyans. So I would say that the IEBC has a golden opportunity. If you think on this, then it will really be a problem for other electoral bodies and commissioners who will come after this. So seize the moment, take advantage of this, communicate effectively and clearly, and also at the right time.
Okay, let's just move on and we look at other issues just related to IEBC. We had yesterday IEBC coming to the fore and saying that, let me try and just get that particular so that we are in tandem together. This was in the Star, where IEBC was raising umbrage on the process of tallying from the tallying center, that they want to go the manual way in case there are issues and scruples that are raised. So let me just try and whip up that quickly for you so that we can be on the same page. This was in the Star yesterday. I should have put at it. Yeah, there we go. It says IEBC wants manual results given priority. After we spend all this study sum of money to go the digital way, IEBC wants the manual results given priority. It says the electoral agency wants physically delivered results to take precedence over electronic transmission when differences occur. Maybe you want to explain why.
Thank you, Dibal. Give me time. I want to explain this once and for all so that it is well understood. And this is extremely important for Kenyans to know that their votes count and their votes will be counted. The law says this, and this is also what the Supreme Court said. They said, what is the result? That was the question that the Supreme Court rendered. The result is that one that is declared at the polling station. And a polling station has not more than 700 voters. So what is counted and witnessed and signed by agents, that is the result. The result is then written on a piece of paper like this. Mm-hmm. Then the agents sign that result. That is what the result is. There is something else that technology does. You take that result, put it here, take the machine, the technology, take an image of that result.
You scan it. Mm-hmm.
So the image is not the result. The result is the physical paper that has been signed. That one is therefore sent. The image is sent to the tallying center at the constituency, tallying center at the county, and tallying center at the national. In fact, let me tell you, the elections then is completed at the station with that result. That cannot be changed. The Supreme Court asked when things were moving on the screen, so what was that was moving on the screen? And people said that it was statistics. No, it was not the statistics. They took the data, they took the what was written, not the image. That is what was sent. And the Supreme Court said, no, we want the result here. What we are therefore doing, Debal, is taking the image, because that is what the Constitution, the Act says, we take in a prescribed manner, and our prescribed manner is the image. When it goes through, nobody can actually change that. And when it arrives at the National Tallying Center, you compare the result that was signed by the agents, because that is the result, and the image.
The result, which is a hard copy.
Which is a hard copy. Mm-hmm. That is the result. That has to be taken. That is what the law says. The Supreme Court said it very clearly. But we want the result.
Clarify for me, because you say the image that you take,
yes,
it is not the result.
No,
the result is what is the hard copy.
Absolutely.
So what is the rhyme or reason for you just sending the image if this is not the result?
The law requires that we use technology to convey
so the law that requires you to use the technology, and it does not identify the technology as the veracity and efficaciousness of that particular result or that particular image.
Because people, Vincent said very clearly that there is a trust deficit in this country, and so we take that picture, the image of the result, so that if anybody changes this result, the hard copy, at least you have the image and you can say, but this is what it was. These are the this is what is called the result path. That is the role of technology in result path. And I want to tell you again two things. The technology is also used. That is, there are three ways in which technology is used in this election. One of them is the registration of voters, taking biometrics and knowing that the person that is coming to vote is the person that registered. It identifies the person that registered. Secondly, we use technology during voting. You come, Professor Elmi is here, please let's see your ID card and let us have your fingerprints to identify you. That is identified. The third role of technology is taking that image and sending that image to tallying centers at the constituency, at the county, and at the national. You cannot, therefore, say that this is not the image of the result, because the result is here, the image is here, you compare, very good. That is what it is. And I have been saying that the use of technology is in those three things, but it is overrated.
It's overrated.
In terms of result, conveying the result. Because people think that people hide certain things in servers. People hide certain numbers in other ways. This time, I am saying we are in charge. We are in charge of these elections, and we are in charge of result transmission. And we are using the information that the Supreme Court gave, and we are using it to the letter.
Thank you.
And you will see
Thank you.
that the result that comes through is fair, is credible, is completely what the Kenyans needed.
And verifiable. Right. We'll come back to that because I can see we also start for time. But just listening to what he's saying, do you have any holes that needs to be plugged as far as that technology is concerned, Elmi? Just briefly, yes.
Yes. The commissioner has explained very well. And you know, there is ideal and real. Ideal is what things are supposed the way they're supposed to be done. And the real thing is that what actually happens. This technology, Kenya is not homogeneous. If you come from northeastern like myself, there are places where there are no electricity. There are places where there is no internet. And this technology is internet and power-based. The other thing is the commissioner has correctly said that there is trust deficit. So this process requires trustworthy workers within the IEBC. So if there are dishonest people or there are corrupt people, they can alter all this process. And this has significantly come out in the last general election. And where the lawyers from the other fellows were demanding what is in the server, and actually they unearthed about several votes that were specifically meant for was it the presidential election that did not vote for any other aspirant. So this is something that can easily be abused. But if the system is done as he correctly says, and if the system is aware that there are places that have differences in
the 3G network.
Yes.
Yes.
Then that is an issue. The other thing is, you see, for the aspirants, unless you go to court, you have no access to the results that were transmitted directly to the three centers. That is at the constituency level, at the county level, and at the national level. What you can only see and access is it Form 34?
A.
34A. That is where the actual results are actually written. And this is one of the forms that has largely been abused because it can be altered by a dishonest these guys who run the
returning officers.
POs. Yeah. They can easily, and that has been happening quite often. Quite often. You bribe the PO, what he says, okay, if Elmi has gotten 3,000 in Hadado ward in one of the polling stations, then it is changed. And then signed. Because you see, there is no the witness who is supposed to be the
agent.
The agent.
Yes.
I mean, the signature is not known to anybody else other than themselves. So anybody can sign on their behalf. So the issue here, the bulk, is that there is really transparency problem.
Thank you.
Corruption has been
Thank you.
massive here.
Right. Vincent Kimoso, then we go to the issue of course, the rigging allegations and the Huduma number. Why IEBC rejected that? We can see also PS Kibicho has said that Huduma number is not in any way related to rigging allegations or maybe expected rigging allegations at the end of the day. Briefly.
Debal, I think I'm really happy for the conversation we're having today, and thanks to the Commission and also thanks to for having us. Of course, you know very well that if you are to participate in an election, you all require two things: your national ID and your voter registration card. I don't want to repeat what the Commission has pointed out on the role of technology in terms of registration and identification and transmission of the results, just to ensure that there is accountability on both ends. But let's remember, and I would want to buttress the point that the final results based on the ruling by the Supreme Court is actually what is declared at the polling station. So what is needed is ensure that, well, there is proper preparation of the clerks, there is proper security, and then also at the end of the day, technology that works. I would want to repeat myself and say that the delivery of a free, fair and credible election is not a preserve of the IEBC alone. We require the security agencies. The IEBC does not have its own policemen. We require the participation of the media for them to be providing information time and time. But also critical is the participation of the Kenyan people. I would want to really submit to the IEBC that they up their game as far as engaging and interfacing with these agencies, even though from an accountability perspective, they have the final or the backstops with them. I would want to say that when it comes to the issue of rigging allegations, I think they should be investigated. The information conveyed to the members of the public and the relevant agencies responsible for actually dealing with these allegations moving with speed, because they water down public confidence that has taken a lot of money. We have invested so much money in terms of our elections. Debal, Kenya is one of the countries that has, in terms of the cost of our elections per voter, we actually are a very expensive jurisdiction. This should not be happening. Look at what happens in other countries like the UK. An election, they use plain papers. You have volunteers, and the election is respected and trusted by other stakeholders. Today, our ballot paper is almost equivalent in terms of features to what you have as our currency. This should not be the case, Debal, because it should be a very simple process, work towards trusting one another so that we put our energies on actually addressing our real problems. That includes unemployment, the poverty we are seeing, and providing opportunities for the many young people who actually desire and dream for a better Kenya.
Indeed, indeed. And I would like us, thank you, Kimisop. I'd like us just to also flip over to page 10 of the Daily Nation, because there's a story there. You have the Daily Nation, all of you, so that we can try and look on the Huduma number, because IEBC also has rejected Huduma number, and we had Kibicho dismissing claims that Huduma Bill is a plan to rig elections. If my director may just pick up that so that we may move together with our viewers there. That is a story there. Kibicho dismisses Huduma number bill is a plan to rig election. And it says Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibicho has dispelled claims by some politicians that the Huduma Bill 2021 was engineered to rig the elections. Dr. Kibicho, who appeared before the Administration and National Security Committee of the National Assembly yesterday, said the bill currently before the House is meant to safeguard the credibility of a country's population register. We know that IEBC was to use this particular Huduma Bill, but also you said we don't want to go with the Huduma Bill because, first of all, I think it will have changed your standard operating procedures, as it were, and you really pinched for time. Is that the only reason why you thought that you should not go with the Huduma? You will talk about trust. All of us are talking about trust. And we've heard the saying Huduma number will have been the ideal way to go to save us cost at the end of the day. Maybe you'll just use your Huduma number as your voters register at the end of the day. Instead of having a voter register on the side, you have another card. I have my national ID, my ID card. I have my elections card again. Huduma number will have consolidated all this into one. But IEBC thinks otherwise. Kibicho says these claims are, they're false.
Dibal, let's make things real and clear. As the law states, and we are actually directed purely by the law. The law says that individuals that want to participate in an election must carry with them physically, must go to the registrar of elections with their identity card. They will be registered there, and their biometrics will be taken. As far as we are concerned, that is what we do. What Huduma number is doing, we really don't want to bring it into relevance and into the context of voter registration and voting. At this stage, we have our own way of doing this that is directed by the law. So I really don't want to get into the debate and the conversation of the pros and the cons of Huduma number, because for us the law directs that people walk to the registration officer with their IDs.
Thank you.
By the way, once you have your ID and you have been registered, you don't even have to carry your registration card because you are identified by your own biometrics. Secondly, as I said, and I think Kenyans need to watch this, if for any reason a station has registered more than 700 votes, and I repeat, more than 700 votes at the station, it is 800, 900, professors say that it will be 3,000, that is rigging. We only have a maximum of 700 votes.
That's
each
a cap.
Station. Each station. So anybody that wants to check and secure their votes needs to watch the station.
Thank you. Needs to watch the session. Okay, I can see we're strapped for time. We need to be winding up. A lot has to be discussed. First of all, I want to just look at these issues of the rigging claims that Moses Kuria raised. It had been raised with Sabina Shege. Moses Kuria is just echoing. I can see the chairman now has summoned Moses Kuria to appear before you. It's neither here nor there, but if two people are speaking about, and we know from the other camp, they're speaking about a rigging claim, and we're talking about veracity, trust, what does it portend for an institution like IEBC? First of all, what are you going to ask Moses Kuria?
I think, let me say this.
Or is this just purely a PR exercise? We've seen that happening, slap on the wrist, then nothing happens.
No.
But these are very critical claims.
These are very, very critical claims. And I think it is very unfortunate that leaders at the caliber of Moses Kuria, Sabina Shege, and others, these are leaders that are respected in Kenya, in their own communities. When they are coming up with such claims of rigging and they cast aspersion on the referee, they are in fact trying to now push a narrative that all the games that we are going to play are games that must not be taken seriously, and yet they are themselves relying on that referee to do a good job, give them a good name, that they have won. And I think this is something that I am appealing to our leaders to guard their tongues and choose their words so that they do not make people, because this is the reason why, as Professor said, people die. People die because of perception. And if it is perception that my own person has been rigged out, that and yet may not be the case, that is dangerous and is putting us in a very slippery place. I would like to say that leaders need to guard their tongues.
Right. Professor Elmi, just as your parting shots as well,
Yeah,
and also Vincent Kimosop, we start for time. Yeah.
I think first Moses Kuria and Sabina Chege were people who were in the ruling party in the last general election. So for them to confirm that there was rigging tells you a lot. But under the Supreme Court has actually, rigging means irregularity has happened within the voting processes. And that has been vindicated by the Supreme Court's judgment. It is true. Now the only thing that we must do is that we must ensure that this 2022 general election, rigging should be getting rid of. It should never ever benefit anybody, because rigging is a complete insult to democracy. And whoever practices it, I think, is an enemy of this country. Having said that, I think the onus of ensuring that this thing, the election is done as required by law, lies with the Electoral Commission. Of course, as my friend Vincent has said, there are also other stakeholders. And I think it is upon us as a country together to ensure that this coming general election is transparent.
Thank you.
And fair.
Thank you. Vincent?
Again, I think since this is a parting shot, I would want to say that it's been a good discussion. We need to keep this conversation going. I want to reiterate the importance of the electoral management body of interfacing with other stakeholders, communicating clearly, timely, and in a relevant way. They should not work alone, they should work with other stakeholders, because the delivery of a successful election is not a preserve of the IEBC alone. They require everybody. When IEBC succeeds, Kenya succeeds. When IEBC succeeds, this country moves forward. When we have a problem in our elections, we've seen from the past, it stalls our progress, and it actually puts a black scar on our path towards growing and becoming a better country.
Thank you.
I actually want to say that if we beyond just the elections, let's go past the elections and really even also begin the conversation on the real issues that are bedeviling our country.
Thank you very much.
Will you give me a parting shot?
I'll give you a parting shot, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jibal, and thank you for the station and the opportunity to talk to Kenyans. I want to say that this is our country. All these political parties and everybody is involved. These are our brothers and sisters. And as IEBC, I want to give you an undertaking, and to the country as well, that we are going to conduct a free, fair, and credible election. And I want to say that we are in charge, and we are also relying on Kenyans to work with us. We want to rely on politicians to work with us, religious leaders to work with us. We need to secure
the media
this country for posterity.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We need to do that, and of course also the media will be your partner. You've promised that you'll give us a portal to get the transmission and beam them to our viewers. We are waiting to see.
We actually will give you a portal.
Will give us a portal.
Yes,
thank
because you are a very big stakeholder that we have in this.
Indeed, I have to wind up, and I wanted just to ask you as we're winding up, and I wonder if you'll answer. We don't have the time. You're not going to foresee a runoff? Are you going to? Is there anything in your plan on a runoff?
On a what?
Runoff, presidential runoff.
Oh yes.
Because
we really don't know. What we know is that we are going to do this well. If there is an opportunity for a runoff, we will go for it.
You'll go for it. You don't have the money. You said you don't have money.
The government has to produce that money, Dibal, because this is their responsibility.
Yeah, let's just wind up, because I know you have to have budgeted for a runoff, as it were. You had a supplementary budget, to Parliament. Why also didn't you consider the presidential runoff? Let's leave it at that. I think for another time. Thank you. I need to go. Thank you very much for your valid company. Been watching Uongozi today. Many thanks to Justice Nyang'aya, Commissioner IEBC, also Professor Yusuf Elmi, who is a policy and governance expert, also the former Chancellor of Rongo University, Vincent Kimosop, who is a lead consultant at Sovereign Insight. Thank you for coming through as well. In absentia as well, I want to thank Sam Hochi, who couldn't make it this morning because the kid is feeling rough, but nonetheless, he's expressed his regrets, and we do appreciate that. Thank you for your valid company. Don't go away. Much more coming up on entertainment scene with my brother, Brian. Don't go away.